My son moved his girlfriend into my house while I was visiting my sister for 2 weeks. I came home and she was in my bedroom, in my bed, wearing my robe. She said, "Oh. You're back early," I said. "This is my bedroom." She said, "Rick said I could stay here while my apartment was being fumigated." "Rick is my son," I called him. "Why is a stranger in my bed?" He said, "Mom, relax. Sarah needed a place to stay." "You were gone anyway." I said, "You don't get to move people into my house." He said, "It's just temporary." I went back to my bedroom. Sarah was still there. I said, "You need to leave." She said, "I don't have anywhere to go." "Rick said I could stay." I said, "Rick doesn't live here." "I do." "Pack your things." She started crying. Called my son. He showed up angry. "Mom, she has nowhere to go." I said, "Not my problem." He said, "Where's your compassion?" I said, "Where's your respect for my home?" Sarah was going through my closet. "Can I borrow this dress?" She was wearing my jewelry. She'd used my makeup, my perfume. My son said, "Just let her stay 1 more week." I said, "No, out, both of you." He said, "Fine, we'll both leave." They left. 3 days later, I got a call from my bank. Someone tried to use my credit card. $3,000 at Best Buy. It was Sarah. She'd stolen my card while staying in my house. I reported it, and then before we continue, this fictionalized case study is based on documented cases of unauthorized occupancy and identity theft by house guests. According to the Federal Trade Commission, identity theft affects approximately 1.4 million Americans annually, with 15% of cases involving theft by someone who had legitimate access to the victim's home. The National Crime Prevention Council reports that 30% of identity theft cases involve family members or romantic partners of family members who exploit trust and physical access to steal financial information. This examines your legal right to remove unauthorized occupants from your property, how to protect yourself from identity theft when someone has accessed your home, and the importance of maintaining firm boundaries even with family members. Now let me tell you my story. It was a Wednesday afternoon in late September, and I was driving home from the airport after a 2-week visit to my sister in Atlanta. I'm Dorothy Washington, 68 years old, retired nurse, widow for 6 years. I live alone in a 3-bedroom house on the south side of Chicago. I'd gone to visit my sister Clara for what was supposed to be a relaxing 2-week vacation. We'd planned activities, made restaurant reservations, scheduled time with old friends we'd grown up with. But on day 12, Clara came down with pneumonia. Nothing serious, but at 70 years old, her doctor wanted her in the hospital for observation and Roman 4 antibiotics. I'd stayed with her for 2 days until her daughter arrived from North Carolina to take over. Then I'd caught an early flight home, arriving on Wednesday instead of Friday as originally planned. I pulled into my driveway around 2 p.m., tired from the flight but glad to be home. The first thing I noticed was that the porch light was on. I distinctly remembered turning it off before I left. I always turned off all the lights when traveling, force of habit from years of living on a nurse's salary, watching every penny. I unlocked my front door and stepped inside. Immediately, something felt wrong. The smell hit me first. Perfume, heavy floral perfume that I didn't wear. My perfume was light, subtle. This was overpowering. The living room looked slightly different. The throw pillows on my couch were rearranged. A coffee mug sat on the end table. I never left dishes out. My heart started beating faster. I walked through the first floor quickly. Kitchen, dishes in the sink. Not many, but I'd left the sink empty and the dishwasher run. Lights on in the dining room. Mail opened on the counter. My mail, opened and read. Someone had been in my house. I thought about calling the police, but nothing looked stolen or vandalized. Just occupied. I went upstairs, my legs shaky, pulling my phone out of my purse just in case. The guest bedroom door was closed. I always left it open. My bedroom door was half open. I pushed it wider and stopped dead. A woman was lying in my bed. She was black, appeared to be in her mid-30s, with her hair wrapped in one of my silk scarves. She was wearing my robe, my expensive silk robe that my late husband had given me for our 30th anniversary. She was painting her nails, watching something on her phone, completely relaxed. She looked up and saw me standing in the doorway. Her eyes widened. Oh, you're back early? I couldn't speak, couldn't process what I was seeing. A stranger, in my bed, wearing my clothes. Who are you? I finally managed. Why are you in my bed? She sat up, my robe falling open slightly. I'm Sarah, Rick's girlfriend. He said I could stay here while my apartment's being fumigated. Bedbugs, you know, such a nightmare. Rick, my son, 42 years old, lives in an apartment downtown, works in IT, has been dating women I don't approve of since his divorce 5 years ago. My mind was racing. Rick had a key to my house for emergencies only, for if I fell and couldn't get to the phone, for if there was a fire or a flood, not for moving his girlfriends into my bedroom. This is my bedroom, I said slowly. My bed. My robe you're wearing. Sarah looked down at the robe as if noticing it for the first time. Oh, yeah, I needed something to wear after my shower. My clothes are in the wash. Hope you don't mind. Mind? I looked around my room with fresh horror. Sarah's clothes were draped over my reading chair. Jeans, shirts, underwear. My vanity was covered with makeup, not my makeup. Brushes and palettes and tubes spread across the surface, mixing with my own modest collection. Sarah's shoes were scattered on my floor, 3 different pairs. A suitcase was open in the corner, clothes spilling out of it. She'd unpacked. She was settled in. This wasn't a one-night emergency stay. This was someone who'd moved in. How long have you been here? I asked. Sarah shrugged, going back to painting her nails, my nail polish, I noticed. My favorite shade. Like a week? Rick said you were gone for 2 weeks, so I figured I'd be out before you got back. The fumigation was supposed to be done by Friday, but they had to do a second treatment. Bedbugs are so stubborn. A week. This stranger had been living in my house for a week. Sleeping in my bed, using my things, going through my belongings. I pulled out my phone and called Rick. He answered on the 3rd ring. Hey, Mom, how's Atlanta? Rick, my voice was shaking. Why is there a stranger in my bed? Silence. Mom, you're home? Yes, I'm home. Clara got sick. I came back early, and there's a woman in my bedroom who says you gave her permission to stay here. Explain, now. Oh, that's Sarah, my girlfriend. She needed a place to stay for a few days. You moved someone into my house without asking me? You were gone anyway. Your house was just sitting empty. I figured it wouldn't hurt for her to stay until her apartment was ready. Rick, you don't get to make that decision. This is my house. Mom, relax. It's not a big deal. It's just temporary. She'll be out by the weekend. She'll be out today. Right now? Mom, don't be unreasonable. I hung up on him, turned back to Sarah, who was still calmly painting her nails like this was a spa day. You need to leave. Now, pack your things. Her eyes filled with tears instantly. Just like that, like turning on a faucet. I don't have anywhere to go. Rick said I could stay? I thought you knew about this. I would never just come into someone's house without permission. Rick doesn't live here. I do. This is my house, and you're trespassing. Pack your belongings and leave. But the fumigation isn't done until Friday. My apartment is completely sealed. I literally have nowhere to sleep. That's not my problem. You should have made other arrangements. You need to leave my house immediately. Sarah's crying intensified. She grabbed her phone and called someone, Rick, presumably. I could hear her voice, loud and dramatic. Your mom is kicking me out. She's being so mean. I have nowhere to go. Rick, please, you said she wouldn't mind. I walked out of my bedroom and went downstairs. My whole body was shaking with anger and violation. A stranger had been living in my house. In my bed, using my things, for a week, and my son thought this was acceptable. 20 minutes later, I heard a car screech into my driveway. Rick burst through the front door, using his key, not knocking. Mom, what the hell? Sarah is upstairs crying. I was sitting in my living room, arms crossed, trying to calm down. Sarah is a stranger you moved into my house without my permission or knowledge. She needed help. She had nowhere to go. Where's your compassion? Where's your respect for my home, for my privacy, for my property? Rick ran his hand through his hair, frustrated. It's not like she's hurting anything. She's just sleeping here. She's in my bed, Rick, wearing my robe, using my things. Did you give her permission to go through my closet, to use my makeup? To wear my jewelry? She probably just borrowed a few things. She doesn't have permission to borrow anything. This is my house. You don't live here. You have no right to give anyone access to my home. Sarah appeared at the top of the stairs, still wearing my robe, tears streaming down her face. Rick immediately went to her, putting his arm around her. "It's okay, baby, we'll figure something out." That's when I noticed it, the necklace around Sarah's neck, my gold necklace, the one my late husband had given me for our 25th anniversary. The one I kept in my jewelry box and only wore for special occasions. "Sarah, that necklace, take it off right now, that's mine." She touched it, looking down. "Oh, I was just trying it on, it's so pretty, I was going to put it back." "Take it off." She slowly unclasped it and held it out to me. I walked upstairs and took it from her hand. That's when I looked closer at her face. "Are you wearing my makeup?" I ran out of mine. I was going to replace it. "I didn't think you'd mind." I pushed past both of them into my bedroom. My vanity looked like a tornado had hit it. My makeup, the expensive products I saved for and bought carefully, was opened, used, not put back properly. Powder spilled on the surface. Lipsticks with the tops off, dried out. My favorite eyeshadow palette with colors clearly used and not cleaned. My perfume bottles had been moved, caps left loose. I opened my closet. My clothes had been moved around, pushed to one side to make room for Sarah's things hanging on my hangers. My favorite dress, a navy blue dress I'd bought for my husband's funeral and worn only a handful of times since, was hanging wrinkled on the back of my reading chair. "You wore my clothes?" Sarah appeared in the doorway. "Just a couple times. I had job interviews. I needed to look professional." My stuff was all in my apartment with the bed bugs and I couldn't get to it. I turned to look at both of them. "Get out, both of you, right now." Rick's face hardened. "Mom, be reasonable. Just let her stay one more week. Her apartment will be ready by Friday." "No, out, now." "Sarah, you have 20 minutes to pack everything and leave my house." "Where am I supposed to go?" Sarah wailed. "A hotel, a friend's house, your family. I genuinely don't care, but you're not staying here." Rick stepped forward. "I can't believe how heartless you're being right now. This is so unlike you. Where's the woman who raised me to help people in need? What's unlike me is having my home invaded without my knowledge, my privacy violated, my personal belongings used without permission. That's what's unlike me." "She didn't know you'd mind?" "She didn't ask." "You didn't ask, that's the entire problem, Rick." "Fine," Rick shouted. "Fine, we'll both leave. I hope you're happy alone in this big house." "I am happy. It's my house. I get to decide who's in it, and I decide that she needs to leave." Now, Sarah ran into the bedroom, sobbing dramatically, and started throwing things into her suitcase. Rick helped her, shooting me angry looks the entire time. I stood in the hallway, arms crossed, watching. Sarah packed slowly, so slowly. Making a production of it, crying loudly, periodically trying to engage me in conversation. "I'm so sorry, Miss Washington. I really thought Rick had told you. I would never intrude on someone's home like this. I'm mortified. This is so embarrassing." I said nothing. "If I'd known you didn't know, I never would have stayed. Rick told me you'd given permission. He showed me a text from you saying the house would be empty." That got my attention. "He showed you a text from me?" "Well, he told me about it. I didn't actually see it, but he said he lied to you." "I never gave permission. I didn't even know you existed." Sarah's face crumpled. She looked at Rick. "You said your mom knew? I thought she'd be fine with it." Rick said defensively. "You thought or you lied?" I asked him directly. He didn't answer. 40 minutes later, not the 20 minutes I'd given her, Sarah was finally packed. Rick carried her suitcase down the stairs. I followed them. At the front door, Rick turned to face me. "I'm really disappointed in you, Mom. I thought you were better than this. I thought you'd understand helping someone in need." I looked at my son, really looked at him. "I thought I raised you better than to move strangers into someone's house without asking. I thought I raised you to respect other people's property and boundaries." Apparently, I failed. His face flushed with anger. "Fine, be that way. Come on, Sarah." They left. I locked the door behind them, changed the deadbolt, put the chain on, and then I stood in my hallway and tried not to cry. I spent the next 2 hours going through my house methodically, checking for damage and missing items. The kitchen, my pantry was half empty. The good coffee I saved for special occasions, gone. The expensive olive oil I'd bought at the farmer's market, nearly empty. 2 bottles of wine from my small collection, empty bottles in the recycling bin. These were wines I'd been saving, one from my husband's last birthday, one from our anniversary. The living room, my books had been moved around. Not stolen, but rearranged. Someone had been reading them, not putting them back in the right places. The throw blanket my mother had crocheted was stained with something that looked like red wine. The guest bathroom, my expensive hand soap, the kind I bought as a little luxury for myself, nearly empty. My fancy hand lotion gone. The guest towels I'd embroidered, used and not washed, tossed in the hamper with makeup stains on them. My bedroom was the worst. The bed sheets smelled like that heavy perfume. I'd have to wash everything. The pillows, the comforter, all of it. My closet, I counted 3 dresses that had clearly been worn. One had a wine stain on the hem. One was wrinkled beyond recognition. One smelled like cigarette smoke, and I'd never smoked in my life. My jewelry box, everything seemed to be there, but it had clearly been gone through. Pieces were in the wrong compartments. My grandmother's wedding ring was still there, thank God. My diamond earrings were still there, but I couldn't be absolutely certain nothing small was missing. The vanity, over $200 worth of makeup, ruined. Foundations left open, dried out. Eyeshadows used without brushes, contaminated. Lipsticks without caps. My expensive French perfume, a gift from my husband that I wore only on special occasions, was half empty. It had been nearly full. I sat on my bed and felt tears coming. This was my sanctuary, my private space. The place I came to feel safe and alone and at peace. And a stranger had been here for a week, sleeping in my bed, using my things, going through my belongings. I started stripping the bed. Everything needed to be washed. Everything needed to be cleaned. As I pulled the fitted sheet off, I noticed my nightstand drawer was slightly open. I never left it open. I pulled it all the way out. Inside were my personal papers, my passport, my birth certificate, copies of my bank statements, a list of my passwords for various accounts. My credit card information written on a piece of paper. I knew I shouldn't keep it there, but I was always afraid of forgetting the security code. Everything seemed to be there, but the papers looked disturbed, moved, like someone had been looking through them. My heart started racing. Had Sarah gone through this drawer? Had she seen my financial information? Had she taken photos with her phone? I immediately called my bank's customer service line and requested new cards for all my accounts. Better safe than sorry. The representative was helpful but asked why I needed them replaced. Someone had unauthorized access to my home. They may have seen my account information. I want to be safe. Absolutely. We'll cancel your current cards and mail you new ones within 5 to 7 business days. I did the same with my credit card company. Then I changed all my passwords on my computer. Then I sat in my living room and wondered what else Sarah might have seen, touched, or stolen that I hadn't noticed yet. 3 days later, on a Friday afternoon, my phone rang. The caller ID showed my bank. My stomach immediately nodded. Hello, Miss Washington, this is Kevin from Chase Bank Fraud Prevention Department. We've detected some unusual activity on your credit card, ending in 4782. What kind of activity? A purchase attempt of $3,000 was made approximately 1 hour ago at Best Buy in downtown Chicago. The transaction was flagged as suspicious because it's significantly larger than your normal spending pattern and because you'd recently requested new cards. My hand was shaking. I didn't make that purchase. I don't even have that card anymore. I'm waiting for the replacement. You still have physical possession of the card we're replacing? I went to my purse, pulled out my wallet. The card was there. Yes, it's in my wallet right now. The purchase was made online, ma'am. Someone used the card number, expiration date, and security code. Has anyone had access to that information recently? Sarah. Immediately, I thought of Sarah. Yes, someone stayed in my house without my permission last week. She had access to my bedroom where I kept the card number written down. I see, that would explain it. The person likely wrote down or photographed the information. That's all that's needed for online purchases. What exactly was purchased? The transaction was declined due to our fraud alert, but the shopping cart contained multiple electronics. 3 laptops, 2 tablets, 4 smartphones. The shipping address was different from your billing address. Would you like me to provide that information? Yes, please. Kevin read off an address in a different neighborhood on the south side. Then he said, the name on the shipping was Sarah Mitchell. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Sarah. The woman who'd slept in my bed, worn my clothes, used my makeup. She'd stolen my credit card information and tried to buy $3,000 worth of electronics. Miss Washington, are you still there? Yes, I'm here. What do I do? We've already declined the transaction and are canceling this card as well. But I strongly recommend filing a police report. This is identity theft and credit card fraud. Both are serious crimes. I will, thank you. I hung up and immediately called the police non-emergency line. Explained the situation, unauthorized house guest, credit card fraud attempt. They said they'd send officers to take a report. An hour later, a detective and a uniformed officer arrived at my door. Detective Marcus Thompson was a black man in his 50s with kind eyes and a serious expression. Officer Lisa Chen was an Asian woman in her 30s, taking notes on everything I said. I explained everything. Rick moving Sarah into my house without my permission while I was out of town, coming home to find a stranger in my bed. Sarah wearing my clothes, my jewelry, using my makeup and perfume. Sarah having access to my bedroom where I kept financial documents. The credit card fraud attempt 3 days after I'd kicked her out. Detective Thompson listened carefully, occasionally asking questions. Miss Washington, what we're looking at here is actually multiple crimes. Trespassing at minimum. Potentially burglary given that she used items from your home without permission, and definitely identity theft and attempted credit card fraud. I just want my information protected. And I want her to face consequences for what she did. Did you give her permission to be in your home? Absolutely not. I was visiting my sister in Atlanta. My son let her in without asking me or telling me. Does your son live in this house? No, he has his own apartment downtown. I gave him a key for emergencies only. Then he had no legal authority to allow someone else to stay here. From a legal standpoint, she was trespassing the entire time she was here. Officer Chen added, the credit card fraud is the more serious charge, Miss Washington. In Illinois, if the fraudulent amount is over $1,000, it's a felony. She attempted to charge $3,000. What happens now? Detective Thompson stood. We'll need copies of the bank's fraud alert, any photos you might have of her in your home, text messages between you and your son about the situation. Anything that documents she was here and had access to your financial information. I provided everything. Photos I'd taken of my ruined makeup, the wine-stained dress, text messages where Rick had defended Sarah. We'll pick her up for questioning, Thompson said. Given that she attempted the charge just 3 days after being in your home, and the shipping address was to her apartment, this should be a straightforward case. After they left, I called Rick. Your girlfriend tried to steal $3,000 from me using my credit card. What? That's impossible. Sarah wouldn't do that. The bank called. She tried to buy $3,000 worth of electronics and have them shipped to her apartment, using my credit card number that she stole while staying in my house. There has to be some kind of mistake. The police just left Rick. They're going to arrest her. Mom, don't do this. She's desperate. She's struggling financially. Maybe she just what? Just committed felony credit card fraud. She's a thief, Rick. A thief that you moved into my house. If you'd just been more understanding and let her stay, this would have happened anyway. She stole from me, Rick. She went through my private papers and stole my financial information and tried to defraud me. I'm sure there's an explanation. The explanation is that she's a criminal and you brought her into my home. Rick hung up on me. I sat in my kitchen, my hands still shaking. My son had moved a thief into my house. A woman who'd violated my space, used my belongings, and then stolen my credit card information to try to buy thousands of dollars in merchandise, and he was defending her. That evening, Detective Thompson called. Miss Washington, we arrested Sarah Mitchell about an hour ago. Already? We went to her apartment with the warrant. She was there. And she confessed. She confessed? Once we showed her the evidence, The fraud alert from the bank with her address as the shipping location, the fact that she'd stayed in your home, the timeline of events, she admitted it. She said she found your credit card information in your nightstand drawer and took a photo of it with her phone. I felt sick. She'd gone through my private things, my personal papers. What happens now? She's been charged with identity theft and attempted credit card fraud. Both are felonies given the amount involved. She'll have an arraignment Monday morning, then we'll see if she takes a plea deal or if it goes to trial. Will I have to testify? Possibly, if it goes to trial. But given her confession and the strength of the evidence, she'll likely take a plea deal. Her attorney will advise her not to risk a jury trial. What kind of sentence are we looking at? For felony fraud with a confession and no prior record. Probably 1 to 3 years in county jail, plus restitution, probation, and a permanent felony on her record. After he hung up, I sat in my living room in the dark. My son had moved a criminal into my house, a woman who'd slept in my bed while planning to rob me, who'd smiled at me and cried crocodile tears while having my credit card information saved on her phone. And somewhere right now, Rick was probably still defending her. The next day, Saturday, Rick showed up at my house. He didn't call first, just showed up and pounded on my front door at 9 a.m. I opened it but didn't invite him in. "Mom, how could you? Sarah got arrested because of you?" Sarah got arrested because she committed a crime. She was desperate. She needed money, her apartment, the fumigation, losing her job. She's been through so much. So she tried to steal $3,000 from me. It's a misunderstanding. She probably just wrote down the number thinking she'd ask you for a loan later. Rick, stop. Just stop. She photographed my credit card information. She placed a $3,000 order for electronics. She had it shipped to her apartment. That's not a misunderstanding. That's premeditated theft. You're going to ruin her life over this? She ruined it herself. I'm the victim here, Rick. She violated my home and tried to steal from me. If you just drop the charges, I'm not dropping anything. She committed a felony. She needs to face the consequences of her actions. Rick's voice got louder, more aggressive. She's going to go to prison because of you. She's going to jail because she committed identity theft and fraud. Don't twist this around. I can't believe you'd do this to someone I care about. I can't believe you'd move a thief into my house without my permission. How was I supposed to know she'd do something like this? You weren't supposed to know, Rick. That's the point. You don't know her well enough to vouch for her character. You've been dating her for what, 3 months? 4, and you gave her access to my home, to my private space, to my financial information. If you'd just been compassionate and let her stay until her apartment was ready, none of this would have happened. Rick, she stole from me within days of being in my house. If I'd let her stay longer, who knows what else she would have taken or done. You don't know that? Yes, I do, and now you do too. She's a thief. She used you to get access to my house so she could rob me. She loves me. Does she, or does she love what you can give her? A place to stay. Access to resources. Money, because from where I'm standing, she used you to get to me. Rick's face was red with anger. If you don't drop the charges, I'm never speaking to you again. That's your choice to make, but I'm not dropping the charges. She committed a crime. She needs to be held accountable. He stormed off to his car, got in, and peeled out of my driveway. I went back inside, locked the door, and cried. My relationship with my son was damaged, possibly beyond repair. But I couldn't let someone who stole from me just walk away with no consequences. I couldn't reward theft just to keep my son happy. 2 months passed. In that time, Sarah took a plea deal. Her attorney clearly advised her that going to trial with a confession and overwhelming evidence would be foolish. She pled guilty to felony attempted credit card fraud. The sentence, 18 months in county jail, 3 years probation after release, $3,000 in restitution to be paid to me, and a permanent prohibition from contacting me. I received official notice from the prosecutor's office. I also received a letter, a formal apology letter that was part of Sarah's plea agreement. Dear Miss Washington, I am writing to apologize for violating your trust and your home. I took advantage of your son's kindness and your absence to access your personal information for my own financial gain. I am deeply sorry for the pain and violation I caused you. I understand that my actions were wrong and that I have damaged not only our relationship, but also your relationship with your son. I take full responsibility for my actions and accept the consequences. Sincerely, Sarah Mitchell. The letter felt hollow, performative, required by the court as part of her plea, not genuine remorse. If she were genuinely sorry, she wouldn't have done it in the first place. Rick called me the day the sentence was announced. I hope you're happy, Mom. Sarah's going to jail for 1.5 years. I'm not happy, Rick. I'm relieved that someone who stole from me is facing appropriate consequences. 1.5 years, that's 1.5 years of her life. She committed a felony. She stole my financial information and tried to defraud me of $3,000. The sentence is proportional to the crime. You could have asked the prosecutor to be lenient. You could have written a letter asking for reduced sentencing. Why would I do that? Because she's sorry. Because she made a mistake. She made a choice, Rick, multiple choices. She chose to go through my private papers. She chose to photograph my credit card information. She chose to place a $3,000 order. Those weren't mistakes. Those were deliberate, calculated criminal actions. I'm still dating her, Mom. This affects me too. I'm going to wait for her. I was surprised. You're still together? Of course, I love her. She made a mistake, but I'm going to stand by her. Rick, when she gets out, we're going to be together. She'll be part of this family. You need to find a way to forgive her because she's going to be in my life. She will never be welcome in my house again. Never. I don't care if you marry her. She's not coming here. Then I guess I won't be coming there either. That's your choice. He hung up. I sat with the phone in my hand, feeling the weight of what had just happened. My son had chosen a woman who stole from me over his own mother. A woman currently sitting in county jail for fraud. And he couldn't see how toxic that was. 4 months after Sarah's arrest, 2 months into her 18-month sentence, my phone rang. Rick, I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Hey, Mom. His voice was different, quieter, defeated. Hi, Rick. I need to tell you something. Sarah and I broke up. I said nothing. Just waited. I went to visit her in jail last week. She told me she's been seeing someone else. Another inmate's brother. They've been writing letters. She said she needs someone who supports her unconditionally, someone whose family doesn't persecute her for mistakes. I'm sorry, Rick, she said. His voice broke. She said she never really loved me, that she was using me for a place to stay. That when her apartment fumigation was actually done, which was like 3 days after she moved into your house, by the way, she was planning to break up with me anyway. The whole thing was a lie. My heart broke for him. Even after everything, he was still my son. Rick, I'm so sorry. You were right about her, Mom. You were right and I was an idiot. I moved a criminal into your house. I defended her after she stole from you. I chose her over you, and she was using me the whole time. You weren't an idiot, you were trusting. That's not the same thing. I should have known better. I should have listened to you. Can you come over? Can we talk in person? Would that be okay? Yes, come over whenever you want. An hour later, there was a knock on my door, not the sound of a key in the lock. A knock. I opened the door. Rick stood there, hands in his pockets, looking like a lost child. Come in, I said. We sat in the living room, the same room where I'd confronted him and Sarah months ago. Mom, I'm so sorry, for all of it, for moving Sarah into your house without asking, for defending her after what she did, for making you the villain when you were the victim. I'm so sorry. Why did you do it, Rick? Why did you move her into my house without asking? He was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, because it was easier than dealing with her being upset. She was crying about the bedbugs, about not having anywhere to go, about not being able to afford a hotel. You were out of town. The house was empty. I thought you'd never even know, and even if you found out, I thought you'd understand. Understand what? That I was trying to help someone I cared about. By violating my home? I didn't think about it like that. I just thought, the house was sitting empty. What's the harm? I didn't think about it being your space, your sanctuary. I just saw an empty house and a girlfriend who needed help. The harm is it's not your house, Rick. The harm is you gave a stranger, someone you barely knew, access to my private space, my personal belongings, my financial information. The harm is you put me at risk without my knowledge or consent. Rick nodded slowly, tears in his eyes. I get it now, I really do. After Sarah told me she'd been using me, I thought about all the ways I let her manipulate me. She'd cry and I'd give her money. She'd complain and I'd let her use my car. She'd act helpless and I'd solve her problems. I gave her access to everything: my apartment, my bank account, my credit cards. All because she knew how to play on my desire to help. And you gave her access to my everything for the same reason. Yeah, and I'm so sorry, Mom. You were protecting yourself and I made you the bad guy. You were the victim and I made you apologize. That was so wrong. I reached over and took his hand. I accept your apology, but Rick, we need to talk about boundaries going forward. I know. Your key is for emergencies only. Do you understand? You don't let anyone else into my house, ever. You don't use this house as a hotel for girlfriends or friends. You don't make decisions about my property without my explicit permission. I understand completely. And Mom, I want to give you the key back. I was surprised. What? I want you to keep it, but I want to earn it back. I violated your trust. I should have to rebuild it before I have access to your home again. I thought about it. He was right. Okay, give me the key. When I feel like I can trust you again, I'll give you a new one. He pulled out his keychain, removed my house key, and handed it to me. If I ever do something like this again, he said, don't give me another chance. Change the locks and never give me a key. I mean it. I hope it never comes to that. Me too. After Rick left, I sat with the key in my hand. Then I called a locksmith and had all my locks changed anyway. Not because I didn't believe Rick's apology, but because I needed a reset. A fresh start. New locks that only I had keys to. Then I called an attorney. Patricia Morrison was a black woman in her 60s who specialized in estate planning. I'd used her for my will years ago. Patricia, I need some advice about protecting my home. I explained everything that had happened. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Dorothy, you handled the criminal aspects perfectly, but we need to make sure this never happens again. Let me ask you, do you have a home security system? No, get one. Cameras at the front door and back door at minimum. If anyone enters your home without permission, you'll have video evidence. Good idea. Also, never keep financial documents in accessible places. Get a safe. A good one, bolted to the floor. Keep your important papers, backup credit cards, passport, everything in there. I've already moved my documents to a locked filing cabinet, but a safe is better. Much better. And Dorothy, we need to update your estate documents. Why? Right now, if something happened to you and you couldn't make decisions for yourself, Rick might assume he has authority over your property. We need to make your wishes crystal clear in legal language. We spent the afternoon updating my documents. My will now stated explicitly. My son Richard Washington does not have authority to allow others to occupy my property or access my belongings. Any such access must be authorized by me in writing while I am competent, or by my designated executor after my death. My power of attorney included specific language about property decisions. My agent does not have authority to grant third parties access to my residence or allow others to occupy my property. My healthcare directive clarified. My son does not have automatic authority to make decisions about my living situation. Any change in residence must be approved by the court. Patricia reviewed everything. This protects you. If Rick ever tries something like this again, you have legal documentation that he had no authority. You can press trespassing charges and he can't claim he thought he had permission. Thank you. You're welcome. And Dorothy, you did the right thing. Protecting yourself isn't mean, it's necessary. 6 months after Sarah's arrest, my house felt like mine again. New locks, security cameras installed front and back, a safe bolted to my bedroom closet floor containing all my important documents. Rick and I had slowly rebuilt our relationship. We had dinner once a month. He called weekly. We talked about his work, my volunteer activities at the church, neutral topics, but he never asked to borrow anything, never asked for favors, never pressured me, and he definitely never asked to bring anyone to my house. One evening over dinner at a restaurant, Rick said, "Mom, I want you to know, I met someone new." I tensed slightly. "Oh, her name is Angela. She's a teacher at a school on the north side." "That's nice, Rick. I'm doing things differently this time. I'm taking it slow." not giving her access to my apartment yet, not lending her money, not introducing her to family, just getting to know her first, actually getting to know who she is before I trust her. That sounds very wise. And Mom, when I do eventually think it's appropriate for you to meet her, I'll ask you first. We'll meet at a restaurant or somewhere neutral. I will never, ever bring someone to your house without your explicit, enthusiastic permission. And I mean explicit, you saying, yes, Angela can come over for dinner on Saturday at 6 p.m., not me assuming, not me taking liberties. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. I really did learn from this, Mom. Sarah taught me that people can seem one way on the surface and be completely different underneath. That my desire to help someone doesn't give me the right to volunteer other people's resources, especially without asking. That boundaries exist for good reasons. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. I'm proud of you for learning from this. It was an expensive, painful lesson, but you learned it. Did it damage our relationship permanently? I thought about it carefully. No, but it changed it. I trust you again, but differently now. I trust you to respect my boundaries. I trust you to ask before assuming. I trust you to protect my interests, not just your girlfriend's. That's actually a stronger kind of trust than what we had before. Rick's eyes were wet. I love you, Mom. I love you too, son. We finished dinner and said goodnight in the parking lot. I drove home to my house, used my new key to unlock my new lock, checked the security camera footage on my phone, no activity all day, made myself a cup of tea, and sat in my bedroom, my private, sacred space. Fresh sheets on the bed, new ones. I'd thrown away the ones Sarah had slept in, my jewelry organized in a locked box inside my safe, my makeup replaced. Rick had offered to pay for it and I'd accepted. It felt like appropriate restitution. My perfume bottles lined up on my vanity. I'd bought myself a new bottle of that expensive French perfume. It felt like reclaiming something that had been taken from me. Financial documents locked in the safe. Security cameras watching my doors. And most importantly, peace. No strangers in my bed. No one going through my belongings. No one using my things without permission. Just my home, my sanctuary, exactly as it should be. I pulled out my journal and wrote, 6 months ago, my son moved his girlfriend into my house without my permission. She slept in my bed, wore my clothes, used my makeup and perfume. Then she went through my private papers, stole my credit card information, and tried to defraud me of $3,000. She's in jail now, 18 months for felony fraud. My son defended her at first, chose her over me. Made me the villain for protecting myself. Then she dumped him and admitted she'd been using him all along. He apologized. We're rebuilding our relationship, but with clearer, firmer boundaries. He learned that my home is mine. That access is a privilege, not a right. That trust, once broken, must be earned back through consistent action, not just words. I'm 68 years old. I spent too many years trying to please people, to be accommodating, to avoid conflict, to be the nice mother who never said no. Sarah's theft was terrible. It was violating and traumatic. But it taught me something valuable. My home is my sanctuary. I get to decide who enters it. Family doesn't get automatic access. And standing firm on that boundary doesn't make me mean or selfish or heartless. It makes me wise. I closed the journal and looked around my bedroom one more time. Everything was as it should be, my space, my things, my rules, protected and respected, exactly as it should be. And if anyone ever violated that again, family or otherwise, I knew exactly what I'd do. I'd protect myself without hesitation or guilt, because I'd learned the hard way that boundaries aren't mean. They are necessary. And my home, my peace, my security were worth protecting, no matter what.